Welcome to the latest episode of the Pulse of East Providence with Mayor Bob DaSilva. You know, our administration prides itself in trying to use all means of communication to get the word out on what's happening in our city to our residents. And this is just another way to get that done. Today I have a special guest. It's East Providence Tax Assessor Sarah Frew, who's going to be talking to us about some of the programs in the city to help our residents and how the whole tax assessment process works. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Sarah, tell us, I'd like to start off the program by asking my guests to tell us about themselves. You know, it's nice that we connect your story, your personal story with the community so people know who they're dealing with when they come and see you. Tell us how you got into this role and tell us where you grew up and where you went to school and everything else.
So I went to school in Johnston, and I actually started working for a reevaluation company my senior year of high school. Okay. And it always was a good fit for me. I enjoyed what I was doing. I actually started off doing customer support and training. So I was meeting a lot of the assessors across the state, and a lot of them were encouraging me to try to get into the municipal side of things. So back in 2007, the position became available in East Providence in the assessor's office to be the appraisal technician. So I applied for it, I got it, and that's how I started with East Providence. And I worked close with the assessor at the time. And then around 2016, I had my daughter, who's now 7, and I decided that I wanted more. So I saw a position become available for the North Smithfield tax assessor, and I decided to go for it. So I went for it, and I was there for about a year and a half, and then the East Providence assessor retired. And I was like, oh, I would love to, go back to East Providence. So I applied for it, and here I am. I got it.
And you've been here since, what year was that?
That was in 2019.
That's the first year we took office, and we were so lucky to have you come back to East Providence, where you kind of started your tax assessment career. Now, tax assessment, people don't like to talk about taxes too much, and we try to do whatever we can to educate the community and also to give them some support whenever necessary. One of the things we just passed recently with the support of state delegation and the support of the city council was we passed a tax amnesty law. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yes. So what this law has done is it enabled us to start this program where a taxpayer has 60 days to come in to the city to catch up on back taxes. So in order to qualify, they would have to pay the principal of their bill in full, and it allows us to wipe out the interest on the real estate up to $10,000. The program is also offered to motor vehicle and tangible bills. So the program's going on right now. It started in August, and it's going on until October 16th.
That's wonderful.
So,
and the reason behind the program, so the community understands, was, we have a way to force people to pay their back taxes. It goes to a tax sale, right?
Right.
But what we sat down and talked about was take into consideration what people have been dealing with high inflation, the pandemic, people been out of work, and we just wanted to come up with a way that would give some people a little bit of tax relief without having them go through a tax sale, which could become more costly for the tax ower and property owner. But this is a limited program. This is not something that's going to be happening all the time. So we want the residents to understand that this is for people who are behind currently, not going forward, so it's not something that's going to be always available. And the deadline again to apply?
It's October 14th, but October 16th is the actual final day.
And so far, in the early stages, we've seen this work because we're getting more money coming into the city coffers, and people are getting a little bit of a break.
Right.
It's a good incentive.
Yep.
Wonderful. Now, the other thing that people hear about oftentimes is the tax revaluation process.
Yes.
Can you explain that, how that works?
So we just completed a statistical update. The statistical update is when we analyze sales that have been occurring over a certain period of time, usually a year in the city, and then we analyze the data for those sales properties to set the new values for the properties in the city. That way there we can use them for the tax bill.
And that's required by state law?
It's a state law, yes.
I often hear referred to as 369. Explain what that means.
So every 3 years we do a statistical update, and then on the 9th year, so you'll do a statistical update, and then 3 years later you'll do another, and then on the 9th year you do what's called a full reevaluation. They're pretty similar. The only difference is on the full, we're actually out there inspecting all the properties in the city, like trying to get inside. A lot of people don't like to let us inside, but it is good to let us in because what I'm finding is the taxpayers have an appeal period after the bills go out. So when they appeal, I like to go out and try to inspect it, and I'm finding that a lot of our data is outdated. So it'll be good when we have a full reval, which is coming up soon, to try to let the residents know, to try to let us in the property so we can make sure all their data is correct.
And
because it's used on the tax bill, so.
So I recently learned, I mean, that's an expensive proposition. I know we're putting money into the budget. You're going to prepare an RFP.
Yes.
We put it out there. Companies will be able to bid on it. And then we'll hire this company, and we'll inform the public as much as we can to let them know when this process starts, so that, you know, people get nervous nowadays. People coming to their doors and knocking on the door unsolicited. Right. But we will put out the information to the community when that happens, and that's required by state law. And it also, what it does though, it gets accurate values on
Correct.
Properties, so that when the tax bills go out, they're fair across the board, right?
Right.
So.
Well, what happens is we do them every 3 years, so the market is changing.
Yes.
So, you know, it's good to have them every 3 years, because then we can bring the values as close to market value as they might have swayed in that 3-year period.
And so. we actually, people may get a little confused because we just did a statistical reval because we delayed one year.
Delayed a year.
Due to the pandemic. And speak about that and why that was necessary.
Okay. So what we were seeing during the pandemic, what we found and a few other communities in the state found, that this market was not a typical market. A lot of people were shocked that, you know, during a pandemic, the prices continued to increase on houses, and we were wondering, is this going to last? We didn't want to implement values that might, you know, crash a few months after we implement them, and then taxpayers are stuck with them for 3 years. We also didn't have a lot of data, so we decided, why don't we wait and postpone it a year? I feel that by postponing it a year was beneficial to the taxpayer, because not only did it prove to us that the market didn't go anywhere, but it also gave us more time to analyze more data to know that this market is real, it's staying. Right. It's not going to crash.
And overall, I didn't hear too many appeals. What would you say the numbers were?
I'm at about 70 appeals, and the deadline is October 3rd.
Okay.
So that's not bad.
No, that's not bad overall.
No.
I mean, it shows that people were satisfied with the results.
They understand, right?
They understand it.
We have 16,000 parcels, so to only have 70 appeals, that's not bad.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing, I was talking to Phil Terrell, a local realtor here in East Providence, just yesterday, and he was telling me that the market in East Providence is still so hot. He says that properties go for sale and they're gone within a week or two, and people are still paying over market, which is a good sign for our community. I mean, people want to come and live in East Providence. It's a safe community. There's a lot of great things happening in our city, and it makes me proud that we have a hot market here. That just tells me that people want to be living in our community.
I agree.
Now let's talk about some of the exemptions that people have the ability to apply for, and a lot of people don't know that they can apply for these exemptions. So look, why don't we start off with the homestead exemption, because that's one that anyone who lives in their home can apply for. Can you explain that?
Right, okay. So if you owned a property in the city by the end of the year for next year's tax bill, you can apply for the homestead exemption. It takes 14% off the bill.
Okay.
What you have to do is, we have a 2-page form that has to be filled out. We do mail it to homeowners. When someone purchases a property, we will send them a form.
Okay.
And then we also send reminders if we don't get it back, because we want to see them take advantage of it. What they have to do is fill out the form and come into our office with 2 forms of proof that it's used as their primary residence. Usually we'll take like a driver's license and motor vehicle
Does it apply to single family?
Single family up to 3 family.
Okay. All right, so that's
condos and mobile homes.
And you know, and sometimes I hear from people that they were not aware of this. So, where can they find information? Is it on the website?
It's on the, I'm sorry, on the city's website, yes.
So
under
East
the
Providence,
assessment.
eastprovinceri.gov. If you go to the assessment link, you can find all the information on how to apply for your homestead exemption, or stop into City Hall and see Sarah or somebody from her team, and they're more than happy to help you apply for that. So that's wonderful. But talk to us about some of the other less known exemptions.
Okay, so I just brought a list so I don't forget any. We have the veterans exemption. That all they have to do is come in with their DD 214, and then we can make sure they qualify. Then we have disabled veterans. They'll come into us and they'll show that they're, whatever their disability rating is. And we recently passed the partially disabled veterans exemption, which opens it up to people who might not be 100% disabled.
Okay.
We have the veterans for a widow. We have a Gold Star parent, which is another form of a veterans exemption. We have visually impaired exemption. Then we have the senior citizen exemption, the over 65.
Explain that one to me.
Okay, that one also is for your primary residence. You just have to be 65.
Okay, and what kind of exemption do we get?
So they get $610 about that off the tax bill annually.
Okay,
Yes.
that's pretty good. I actually had a resident, once again, sometimes residents are not aware that these exemptions exist, so I want you to keep talking about the exemptions, and
Yeah.
I want people to stop in at City Hall, second floor,
Second floor.
go see Sarah Frew in the assessment's office or see one of her team members if you're looking for information on these exemptions.
Okay.
Are there any others that you want to share with the public?
We have the prisoner of war. We do have the list that I'm referring to. That's also on our website. It's also in the tax collector's office and the assessor's office. We have it listed.
Wonderful.
It has all the amounts that they get off. And we do get into a little detail on the website how they can qualify for it.
So are there anything else that you could think of that we may want to share with the community to let them know about some of the stuff going on in your office?
Well, we are going to have another reval coming up pretty soon.
That's right.
Like we mentioned. We'll try to get as much of the word out as we can with newsletters and letters to the taxpayers when that's going on. And just, yeah, that's it.
Well,
Get the exemptions.
I can tell you that Sarah and her team are incredible when it comes to dealing with the public. We've had people come in, they're not aware that they have these exemptions available to them. Her team always sits down with the residents to help them through the process. So we want our residents to be aware that these exemptions exist. It's there for you to take advantage of. And I'm surprised often when I'm out in public how many people don't know about these exemptions. So I want to thank Sarah for spending time with us today and sharing this information with the community. When we come back, we're going to be talking to Matt Vianna, talking about some of the stuff that he's doing with the veterans and with the Elks here in East Providence. Welcome back to the Pulse of East Providence with Mayor Bob DaSilva. My guest now is someone who should be no stranger to our community because he's been very involved and he's been on the show before. Matt Vianna, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me again, Bob.
Matt, you do incredible things throughout the community and especially with vets. I know we've had you on a show before, but I want you to share with the community who may be watching this for the first time a little bit about yourself. Give us a little of your background, how you got involved with veterans concerns.
So my name is Matt Vianna. I've been a member of the Elks for about 5 years. I've been the chairperson for the vet committee for the last 3. And it got started because I had frustration trying to find out what was available. And I had a lot of vets that would come up to me and ask me which is the best way to go. Poking around and finding out what we could do, we came up with the idea of having an expo, which the city has been amazing with us, allowing us to use Pierce Memorial Stadium, which is a great format for it. The first year we had 250 vets on the field. We had pretty much every service available to a veteran on the field. And then that's when it pretty much started. It started with fundraising, and it started with trying to find out what was going on, where the need was. And the homeless number in Rhode Island it's pretty much an absurd number. So we tried to figure out what we could do. The last time I was on the show, you had Dan Lepore from Vets Incorporated on the show, and it was kind of a challenge that he gave me. He's like, you know, you should walk and carry a rucksack to fundraise. And I said, well, how far should I walk? And so we came up to going from Newport, Rhode Island to East Providence, which was 29.3 miles. So we did that last year. And if anyone looks at your YouTube, they'll see the video of the end of that walk. We left Newport around 6:45 in the morning, and with the last of the group, I walked in at 4:15, and it was a great day. We were able to raise a good amount of money. We raised $26,000.
And that's a main fundraiser that you do to support the veteran community.
Correct.
And to get services to veterans who need services. And it's called Rucking for Roofs.
Correct.
Now, this year, you're getting ready to do it again. Is this going to be year 2 or year 3?
This is year 2.
Year 2, okay.
Yes, sir.
So this year, November 11th,
Yep.
You'll be taking a challenge again.
Yep.
How do people get involved if they want to get involved? If I'm out there listening and I want to be part of this and I want to participate, how do I get involved? Who do I contact?
We have a numerous amount of ways that we last year it was all paper trail. You had to go to an Elks Lodge. You had to get the sign-up sheet there. This year, we've incorporated a QR code on our flyer.
Okay.
So on that QR code, you're able to buy swag. You're able to sign up for the Rock. You're able to sign up for a sponsorship. It'll give you pretty much a synopsis of what we did last year, where the monies went, what we raised, and what we were able to help out with. We've developed a great partnership with Extended Stay right here in East Providence, who's been phenomenal with our vets. Normally the vets get put up at like a Motel 6, a lot of crime, a lot of police activity, a lot of prostitution, a lot of drugs. It's not a good environment for someone that's struggling with PTSD, whether diagnosed or undiagnosed. So we reached out to Extended Stay to find out if we could work a deal with them, and they gave us a phenomenal corporate rate that we use throughout Rhode Island. The stays have been without any police activity. They've been positive. They allow the vet to have that breathing room. They're not in their car. They're not in the street. They're in a solid environment. And so it allows them to degress a little bit, which allows their therapist to work with them even more.
That's fantastic. I mean, $26,000 is a lot of money to raise in an event, in one event. So I think you've got a goal to go a little bit higher this year, right? So we got to get the word out on this. What are we looking to raise this year?
So $26,000 lasted us about 4 months.
Okay.
And we were able to support the vets that we were able to do within the last 4 months. This year, I have a personal goal of 100,000.
That's wonderful.
And 100,000 will get me almost through the year. So our homeless number went from 523 homeless vets in the state to where we're 647 right now.
Okay.
So we may do one event a year, but there are numerous conversations that I've had with congressmen, that I've had with senators, that I've had to find out what we can do to find a solution, what we can do to do as much as we can. So I think the Elks are going to be stepping up throughout the state. I heard of one Elks Lodge that wants to start a food pantry for veterans. We want to get more activity to where we have more resources.
So just to let you know, we've been working with Stefan Pryor, our housing secretary, and he's got a couple of different plans that would bring some temporary housing for people who are facing homelessness, and we're hoping to be able to help him with that. And hopefully, when that starts moving in the right direction, we'll have you and your people come in and give input on what you think is important, so that we can make sure we get the help to the vets that we want to get the help to. So that'll be important for us.
Housing is weird when it comes to veterans. So you have veterans that are very co-mingle, and then you have a lot of veterans that don't want to be around anybody because they don't have that trust yet. They haven't really gone through the PTSD clinic yet. There's a lot of education that they have to do with their therapists on finding out what the best resources are. So when we talk about homelessness, the state of Rhode Island deems you homeless as far as the VA goes is if you don't have a home in your own name. So if you're crashing on your buddy's couch, to the VA, you're homeless. Okay. So that 647 shrinks a little bit because they're not all in the street. I have 80 in the woods right in Rumford, Pawtucket that want nothing to do with nobody. We have resources that we reach out to them, make sure that they have the supplies that they need. But they want to leave well enough alone. They're happy where they are, and that's okay. We're not trying to poke that bear. We're trying to make them feel safe. And that's what it comes down to is our enlistment may have ended, but our oath never expired.
That's true. Now, Rucking for Roofs, November 11th. Where are you guys kicking off from?
The Bristol Elks.
The Bristol Elks.
Yeah.
What time should people show up there if
8
they want to
o'clock.
participate? 8 a.m. The Bristol Elks. That's where your kickoff is on November 11th. And then where are you ending?
East Providence Elks.
At East Providence Elks. All right. Now, November 11th is Veterans Day, and we hope that people watching this think about participating with Matt and his team to raise some funds for the Rucking for Roofs event. And Matt, I heard your rucksack went up a little bit. What's going on? Explain that.
So last year we carried 22 pounds on the ruck for the 22 that fall every day. Unfortunately, that number's come up a little bit to 24, and we're working on that as well. This year the challenge was to carry a regulation ruck, and the regulation rucksack is 65 pounds. So we'll be humping a 65-pound rucksack. It'll be at our gala that we're doing on October 28th. Yep. The Hillside Country Club in Rehoboth, they've been phenomenal. I thank them for everything that they've done. The Providence Big Band will be playing at that expo. They've been a phenomenal group to work with. My employer has been a major sponsor. They're hiring huge, so if anybody in East Providence is looking for a job.
Share with people that employer.
So it's Superior Communication Services. We're based out of Framingham, Mass. We work throughout pretty much the U.S. We're going national here soon. Okay. So we're looking for anyone entry level to experienced. Feel free to go onto the website, check it out. Reach out to Rachel Starr, and we'll get you booked for an interview.
So tell us a little bit more about the gala. Where can people purchase tickets if they're interested in going?
So we have a flyer that I believe is getting put out here. Okay. On the bottom of that is a QR code. Okay. If you scan that QR code, you can buy swag, you can sign up for the rock, you can buy gala tickets, you can buy sponsorships. We have several levels of sponsorships. My favorite one is the Ruckin sponsorship. It's $100. It's a yard sign. And I want to flood the East Providence Elks with all those yard signs to show the power of how much it means to have everyone involved instead of a select few. It'll speak volumes to the VA and help us get further along with funding and things of that nature.
That's wonderful. And this will be the first time you're doing the gala, right?
First time we're doing the gala, yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I hope to be there. I intend on attending. So, Veterans Day.
Yes, sir.
We're going to be having a celebration at the Flight of Flags on Veterans Memorial Parkway on November 11th. Mm-hmm. So we know that you'll be in the middle of your march. We're hoping that we can get people to do both. So we'll be celebrating you, and we'll be celebrating veterans on Veterans Day, November 11th. The Bristol Fife and Drums will be there, and we're also going to have local offices and state offices, and the local scouts and police and fire will be there also. So if you're watching this, we hope that you'll be able to join us November 11th on Veterans Memorial Parkway at the Flight of Flags for the Veterans Day Memorial Celebration. Anything else you want to share with the community about some of the stuff you're doing?
So we'll have some of the vet committee down at that celebration as well, because it's important to maintain that relationship that we have with the city that we adore. If you're not able to walk, we don't expect everyone to walk the full 24 miles. There are checkpoints every 2 miles, so you can do it as a relay. Get 10 of your favorite friends and walk 2 miles each, or however you break it down, you can break it down. We're gonna have some of the veterans from Orchard View Manor. Okay. We're gonna push them in the last mile and get them involved and let them be part of something. But it's cheering these people on. Not so much for myself, but I got senior citizens that do this walk. I have disabled vets that do this walk. And it's just knowing that what they're marching for means something. So if we can line the streets, we're gonna be coming right through by Tom Pizza, through Riverside Square like we did last year, and coming down. On that QR code, it'll give pretty much a time frame of when we'll be at each checkpoint and where that checkpoint is. So if we can line the streets and just cheer these people on, it'd be amazing. Last year we didn't really get the word out into Middletown and Newport. We came down West Main Road, we had people honking, we had people thanking us, we had people yelling at us. It was an amazing process. Looking forward to doing it again.
It's a serious walk, and I know you've had some work due to your service, right?
Sure, yeah.
and you're still out there doing it, and it's not an easy walk, but it's a worthwhile walk. And what you're doing to try to get veterans connected with housing and try to bring awareness to the issue is the most important part of a lot of what you're doing, right? Getting the word out there that there are people available and willing to help, but also that there is a real problem that needs to be addressed, that needs to be, resources need to be put into it, right? Yeah. So, and that's why we're very fortunate to have a great relationship with Stefan Pryor, the housing secretary. There are multiple affordable housing projects going on throughout the city right now, which I hope and I pray, once they're up and running, will offer opportunities to those veterans that are willing to live in a place, a home that they want to call their own. You mentioned it earlier, and it's true. Some veterans who are homeless just prefer to be in the condition they're in, away from people. I mean, that's something that exists. And I spoke to the governor on this, and I've spoken to some homeless advocates. And no matter what you do, for some people who are facing the homeless issue, they really sometimes don't want to change the condition they're in. You know, I don't know what it is we can do to try to get them to change that position, but if you can't get them to change the position, the best thing you can do is make their lives as comfortable as possible and give them respect and give them dignity, and that's what you're doing with our veterans. So thank you so much for all you do. Are there any other things that you want to share with the community? This is your opportunity, Matt. If there's any other events or anything you want to tell people about, that'd be wonderful.
So, I mean, the Expo and the Ruckin' for Roofs are our major fundraisers. The Ruckin' for Roofs is a separate bank account for us at the Vet Committee at the Elks. And so we have our Vet Committee money, and then we have our Ruckin' money. Our Vet Committee money is pretty much built up by a cornhole tournament that we have at the Boundary every February. It's a great time. I think it takes about 4 hours to get through the whole tournament. Yeah. But it's pulling the people in East Providence and locally around. It's a little competitive, but we have different brackets and different whatever your competition level is, whether you're a beginner or we had a pro in there this
Really?
year. Yeah. I mean, he was ridiculous, but it was a good time. It's just getting involved, right? So our homeless vets have a 4-month process once they get approved for HUD-VASH to get in a house. So it's housing them in the meantime. But understand, every 2 weeks at a hotel is $2,200.
Right.
So it's just building up our accounts to where we're able to keep that roof over their head and keeping them comfortable as long as we can.
Listen, Matt, I've said it before, I'll say it again, you're doing God's work. I really appreciate everything you do in our community. I'm so happy that you're doing this here in East Providence. This is your hometown, and what you're doing is really a noble thing. You just spent a half hour with the Pulse of East Providence with Mayor Bob DaSilva, and you've heard from 2 incredible guests, and I hope that the information they provide you helps you do things in the community and understand some of the services that are available to you. I want to say thank you and stay safe. I'll see you out there.